Welcome to the Curiosity Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Brown. I explore my curiosity of really weird things, existential things, pop culture stuff, spiritual phenomena, animals, and all the other things with subject matter experts. What isn't there to be curious about? In today's episode, I explore my curiosity with skydiving. Now, this is a curiosity that I'm already familiar with. I jumped out of a perfectly good plane at 10,000 feet on my 30th birthday. But I often wonder whether other Black people, have done the same. And of course, the answer is yes. Evidence of Black skydivers are all up and through social media. Here are a few in the comments. To further unpack my curiosity with skydiving, I'm joined by Willis Cooks, a skydiving enthusiast who has been featured in NBC News, Black Enterprise, and the Houston Chronicle. We talked about how losing a bet forced him to skydive, how 700 to 800 skydives isn't really a lot, okay, and how Fresh Air Boogie, an Instagram chat for skydivers of color, is inspiring more enthusiasts and professionals. So let's get into my curiosity. What's up with skydiving? Featuring Willis Cooks. Welcome to the Curiosity Podcast. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
First of all, before we even talk about skydiving, your name, Willis Cooks. That's kind of an old school name. I'm not gonna lie, sir. Okay, who named you this?
I do not live up to that last name at all. You said hello?
Yeah. How did you get the name?
I was frozen a little bit. I was like, but no. So I'm not sure. I'm adopted. So like I don't know anybody biologically. And so in terms of like my direct family history, I'm not sure of it all. But it's I always get this saying, "What you talk about, Willis?" I've been hearing that my entire life.
So you were adopted, right? But your name, like you've had your name since you were a baby, right? Mm-hmm. So more than likely your birth parents or maybe later on you got the name?
Yeah, I'm sure it's my birth parents, but I'm not sure if I'm junior, third, or I don't know. I could be the fifth Willis Cooks out here. I don't know.
You could be. Could be. Because let me tell you, and how old are you?
32.
You're only 32. So I have this thing where I think my name, like Jennifer, it's going to be an old lady name soon because nobody is naming their kids Jennifer. I think Willis might be one of those too. What do you think?
Yeah, I know. I don't know anybody by the name of Willis as a first name. I know a few Willises as a last name, but as a first name, I like that I'm one of the only few people who first names is Willis.
Yeah, that's an old school name. Mm-hmm. So speaking of your name, I do feel like it's a legacy name, and I think, and this is gonna take us to what you're really here for, which is skydiving. I think you are starting something really, really great with Black skydivers, and with a name like Willis Cooks. It just sounds like somebody from back in the day trying to pioneer something. So I appreciate the name with the skydiving. So we're here to talk about skydiving. You are a skydiver. You are a professional. Well, you're a licensed skydiver. I do want to talk about the difference between that and a professional skydiver, if anything. But I am excited to talk to you because I myself have jumped out of a plane one time.
Okay.
Jumped out of a plane one time on my 30th birthday. So that was 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I only wanted to do it because I wanted to start my 30s with no fear. I've usually been like a very fearless person anyway. But the 30s were going to jumpstart me into like different levels of being fearless. So tell me about the first time that you decided to do something so crazy, especially as a Black person. Okay. Yeah. You know how our people are.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do something so crazy as skydive?
Oh, I lost a bet. I bet on LeBron, like one basketball game. I can't remember the actual game, but I just know I lost the bet. And the bet was whoever loses, the bet has to go skydiving. At the time, I didn't even know skydiving existed. So once I figured it all out, I was like, all right, I don't want to do this, but I already shook the hand. I'm already into it, so I can't back out. I can't be no punk. So because of that, I did the tandem skydiving, which is what you did when you did it. Yeah, I was spooked. That whole situation, I thought my passenger, the tandem instructor, was drunk. Everybody was on the plane like loud and screaming, and it was just like way too much. Um, and because of that, I was shook. I was even even as I was like in free fall and falling through the sky. There was a few times in which like I just felt like I was going to pass out because it was like too much air hitting my face and felt like I couldn't breathe properly. It was just it wasn't a good situation in the beginning.
So let's paint a picture for our listeners because I know exactly what you're talking about because I was there. I know exactly what you're talking about with breathing or too much air being in your face. So, what year is this and what city did you jump out of a plane?
So I'm from Los Angeles, but I did it in Oceanside, California, which is about an hour and a half away from the city. I did this back in January or February of 2019.
2019. Okay. So, you were in your 20s then, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And you lost a bet. Okay. That
Hmm.
is very interesting. I love that. So, if you would have won the bet, then the other person would have had to skydive?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Did the other person, did he have experience in skydiving? Then why was skydiving on the table?
I think at the time, I think I think it was just about. I think it was just a part of the conversation. I think I had a friend who had went. He had a friend who went skydiving, and he was telling me about how he was interested but never would want to go. And then we were also talking about this game at the time, so we was just like, all right, which I bet LeBron wins. If he wins, you got to go skydiving. If he loses, I got to go skydiving. And he lost, and that's kind of what it was.
Oh my gosh, I love that as a bet.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild to me. Okay, so you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to skydive. First of all, you are a good game player. Okay, if
Mhm.
I'm gonna play a game, it's gonna be with you because obviously you will take on the actual bet. You know how
Yeah.
sometimes people lose bets
Yeah.
and they don't actually do it.
Yeah. I don't care what the bet is, what the situation is. I'm that guy that I'm that guy that always wants to try everything at least once. So then I could be able to say like, hey, yo, yeah, I don't like it, but I don't feel like I can say if I don't like something if I haven't tried it. So when it comes to bets and when it comes to doing anything, like, yeah, we can do that all the way. I'm taking on anything.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so you're like, okay, I lost this bet. I'm gonna go ahead and skydive. You go to Oceanside, California. You're in your 20s. This is mid 20s, like 26 or something,
Yeah.
27. Is that the right math?
Yeah.
Okay, 26, 27. Oh my God. So, as you are walking to the plane, okay, what color, because it's important because you're a black skydiver, okay?
Mhm.
What color are the people around you?
What color do you think they was?
Right,
My color and they and the damn sure ain't yours. Like it was me.
right.
Everybody else, I think the instructor was like some Scottish or Irish dude or like some ginger because he had red hair and like he sounded like he was drunk. He wasn't drunk. He didn't smell like any alcohol, but like just the amount of energy that he was, doing in the plane and everything that he was doing, yelling and screaming, like dapping everybody up. And I'm a very like introvert type of person. I'm like real chill. So when he's like grabbing my shoulders, trying to shake me, I'm looking at him like, bro, stop. Like you're doing way too much right now. And it got to a point to where it's just like, all right, he just stopped messing with me and started messing with everybody else because there was for a split second to where like it got beyond the hey, we're about to skydive, and it's just like, bro, you just doing too much. Just chill. I know we jump out of planes, but just chill. I believe once he got that, then it was like, all right, let me go deal with somebody else. And then once that happened, it's just like I had got in my head. Then that's when like my hands started, my palms started sweating, my stomach started feeling all weird, and the plane had already took off at that point. So it was just like it's going to happen because I'm not going to be that guy that gets to the door and be like, oh no, stop, we're not. So
So when we talk about tandem,
hmm
the guy that's doing too much, that's the guy that you're hooked up to.
correct, yeah, the instructor.
Oh my God. Okay. So can you explain to the people what I feel like I just explained it, but You are the expert. What does tandem mean? What does that look like?
Tandem skydiving is when you are attached to an instructor that you will skydive with. Um, at the time, they're not just letting anybody jump out of a plane because obviously you need training. So you're attached to an instructor. You're attached to an instructor who will take care of everything: the free fall, jumping out of the plane, pulling the parachute, navigating yourself down to the landing area, and then actual landing. So your job is just to be there. And at the time I didn't understand it, but now I understand it. It's a part of like the process for him to have that much energy, for that instructor to have that much
Mm.
energy. As the person going skydiving, me, it's we have a lot going on, so we don't want to be in a quiet plane on the way up because then that's when our nervousness and our anxiety is just going to begin to build because we're sitting down for about 10-15 minutes just going up. So in the process of him making noise, him having his energy and doing all of these things, it causes sometimes your mind to just like forget about what you're doing and just be a part of the actual moment.
I definitely want to come back to that because your particular background, professional, your first professional background, I think helps people get them to a place of actually skydiving. So I'm actually going to
Mm-hmm.
put a little pin in there. So we're still on the first time that you skydived. Okay. This is why it's so interesting. So you're in the plane now. You are, palms are sweaty. You said
Yeah.
yes. Palms are sweaty. Your instructor is doing a little too much. Okay. You lost a bet. You and your friend, yes, you and your friend decided to put skydiving on the table. You're in the plane now. You are elevating, okay? Like it's going down, all right? So, what are you thinking as the plane is going up?
So the plane ride up was the actual like scariest part for me because
Mm.
that's the only time you really have to sit and really be aware of the fact like, yo, I'm about to jump out of the plane right now. And like I said, we're on the plane for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon how fast that plane is. But like sitting on that plane, I'm just contemplating everything. Why am I? Why am I going to die? If I do die, is my things set up properly? Is my life insurance good? Is my benefits and everything okay? Like every potential thing that could possibly like happen if this goes wrong, I'm like going through it in my head because I just have that time. And like I said, I'm a real introverted guy, so I'm in my thoughts all the time. So while he's yelling and screaming and doing all this other stuff, I'm just sitting there, just twiddling my thumbs. I look cool. I look like I'm not scared or anything. Like my poker face is real good, but nah, I'm shook the whole way up. Just shook the whole way up.
I think about skydiving as a gamble, and I want us to get real with this, okay?
Yeah,
Again, I have skydived, so I can say this, all
yeah,
right? It is a gamble with your life, okay? Because you're also putting it into the hands of somebody else that is an expert, supposed to be an expert at skydiving. So this person has done it X amount of times to be able to hook somebody up to them safely, right? So you are buying into the authority of this person, the influence and the experience of this person, but it was your choice to do this,
yeah.
right?
You don't
As
know.
is everything.
Yeah, and you don't know what that person did last night. You don't know what time he went to sleep. You don't know if he has alcohol or something in the system. You don't know if that person just got through a breakup and his heart broken. Now he can't think straight. Like he could be having 1,000 things going on at that moment. You don't know. You just know you can toss yourself out of this plane, and like you said, that is a gamble because you for sure could die. Like
Mhm.
you for sure could die. So it's a gamble that, and I think that's why skydiving is so dope to me is because once you get through that gamble and break through that door, you realize that like the other side of fear or the other side of this gamble, so to say, once you realize it's like, hey, it's not too bad. It's a really 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 good feeling of like blissfulness on the other side of it.
I love how you use the word blissful because that's exactly how I felt when I
Mhm.
skydive completely.
Yeah.
So you're in the plane, you're going up, up, you're thinking all these things, including is my life insurance policy up to date and is it like situated? am I gonna die? All these things, right? On this 10 to 15 minute
This
plane
and
ride.
that.
Do you remember the elevation at which you jumped
I
out?
don't remember the exact elevation, but through my experience, we probably went up to about 12,000 to 13,000 feet, somewhere between.
Okay. So you're at the 12,000, 13,000 feet or so. Again, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
So in gambling, you still have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're up there, you still have a choice to go through with it or
Mm-hmm.
to not go through with it. So even though you're thinking all these things, Willis, why did you say, I'm going to still go through with it?
Because my homeboy's on that. My girl was on the ground, so my girl went with me. So my girl was with me. So for one, I can't be the boyfriend that doesn't jump out of the plane and like my girlfriend still jumps. Like that's not going to happen. And then the
Got
other
it.
thing, like I don't want to hear from my homeboy when I give him a call and be like, "Hey yo," so I don't have video because it didn't happen. Like I just couldn't. At that point, it was just all ego and pride was just like, "Nope, Willis, you not backing out. This not what we're doing." So if it wasn't for my ego and my pride, I probably wouldn't have jumped.
That's real because I actually just watched this podcast with an ex CIA agent, and he said that one of the ways to get people to do something, the second most popular way to get somebody to do something, is their ego.
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that you were real about that. Okay, so you were like, my girl's down there. I got to do this. My God, you know?
No, she was with me in the plane.
So,
She jumped before me.
oh, she was jumping. Oh, she jumped right before.
She jumped before me. So I'm like, she
That's
went, oh,
amazing.
we not doing this. Nope.
Amazing. So you saw her jump out. Oh my gosh. So when you saw her, besides being like, okay, she jumped out, so I gotta jump out.
Yeah,
What else were you thinking? What else were you thinking in terms of your girlfriend?
I mean, when she jumped out, it was like, yeah, I gotta jump out. But then, like,
Okay.
once you get to that door, there's so many things going on, right? You have the noise, you have the anxiety and feelings around the fact that you're about to jump out, and then they get to the door. I don't even know if they do this. I don't think they do this on purpose because they have to make sure everything is okay. But when you get to the door, you sit at the door for like 2-3 seconds. That's probably like the longest 2 or 3 seconds of your life at that moment.
It
Because you're
is.
literally looking outside of the door onto the ground. It's like, damn, I'm about to like do this. And for some reason, like I think it's just because of everything that's coming at you, the anxiety, the nervousness, the fear, the sound, how cold it is, loud, like you have all of your senses like going like haywire right now. That your mind just like goes blank. It's just like what mine just like stopped and just I don't even fully remember how the exit went or if I tumbled or anything. But at that door right before I was gonna jump out, oh my mind just went quiet. It was just
It was quiet.
yeah. hmm and
Oh
that's kind of
wow.
and then after I sat back and thought about it, that wasn't surprising because when I deal so my everyday work is social work and I deal with therapy and I deal with trauma cases and I see a lot of like gruesome things and I hear a lot of things. So because of that, I've learned to be able to silence my mind or when I'm in those environments in which I'm dealing with a psych patient who is extremely psychotic and having a psychotic break and it's extremely aggressive and things like that. In moments of chaos, my mind always goes blank and it just allows me to focus. So when I thought about it, and then it was like, hey, at that door, my mind was like quiet. In that brief moment of chaos, it just went back to what I normally do, which is just silence my mind.
And was that comforting for you?
It was in a sense of because it just forced me to focus on the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When you have all of this stuff going on, the skydiving, the thought of you dying, everything, you're so anxious because you have 30 things in your head going off at once. But as a therapist, I begin to realize when you just are able to just shut your mind up and just deal with what's in front of you, everything is so much easier. So once my mind was able to just quiet and everything became solid, the jump itself became a whole lot easier because it's like my girl already left. I'm not finna like go down with this plane, and I'm already here. So just take the wheel.
So you and Team Too Much
Oh yeah.
jumped out of the plane. You're out
Mm-hmm.
at 12,000, 13,000 feet. What is your first thought outside of the plane? If you remember.
Like, how do I
Sorry,
breathe? My first thought
say
is
it one more
literally,
time.
how do I breathe?
Okay.
Because you have all of this air like coming at you in your face. It's like if you're driving a car and you stick your head out the window and you have all of this stuff smacking your face. It's hard to breathe for a split second because you can't. It's hard to breathe through your nose because you have all the air coming. It's hard to breathe through your mouth because you have all this air. So because of that, it was: do I breathe through my nose? Do I breathe through my mouth? Like if I breathe through my nose, I feel like I'm not taking in enough air. If I breathe through my mouth, I feel like it's too much. It was just like a whole lot. Um, so, and I still have my tandem video to this day. Like there are moments in my tandem video in which like I'm going through it, and then I just stop and just focus, just try to take in as much air as possible, and just hold my breath because it was just hard like to breathe. And that's when it was like, all right, enjoy it, but Willis also like remember to breathe because you might pass out if you don't.
So you're out of the plane. Are you doing like this or are you like this? What is your body?
Initially when you jump out of the plane, you're like falling, kind of like head down. But as speed gets up, like your center of gravity becomes your belly. So eventually you get like this. So you probably get like that about 3 to 4 seconds outside of the plane. Um, so that's why like the exit, I wasn't really mindful of the exit because it was just like a go. So we didn't do like a flip or anything. We just jumped out and it was just straight down like that. Um, but at that moment, it was still just the breathing part. Like,
The
how do
breathing.
I breathe and not pass out?
Mm. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely going to return to that too, the breathing. But I think what a lot of people misunderstand about skydiving is they think it's a continuous plunge
Mm-hmm.
instead of a float. I remember on the first and only time I ever skydived, I was floating. And that to me was the most peaceful and blissful part about it because it felt like being in water, you
Mm-hmm.
know? It felt like a surrendering for me. That's what was so powerful
Mm-hmm.
is I'm out literally outside in the sky with an instructor and I'm here. I mean, I'm here. I can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
So I'm going to surrender to what's
that's what you can
happening,
do. All
right?
you can do. That's all you can do at that point is just surrender because you're already out. What else are you gonna do? Because if you do anything else, you're making it harder for the instructor. If you like move around a lot, kick in and scream, you're making it harder for the instructor. The instructor knows what he needs to do because the instructor don't want to die as well. So he not only want to make sure you don't die, he don't want to die also. He got to get back at home. So doing a lot of things that we're doing in the sky makes it worse for him. But I agree with what you're saying in terms of the feeling of feeling like we're floating is there, right? Obviously, you're falling, but you don't fall like it's not like you get out and you just drop. It's not like a roller coaster, so to say. And you get there and you just drop it and you feel it in your stomach and you get nauseous. It's like it's a quick gradual, but it's a gradual speed up to terminal velocity in which you hit that point where you forget that you're falling, so to say. Like you're falling,
Mhm.
but you forget that you're falling. You just become one with the moment because of everything that's going on.
I think it also gave me a greater respect for the element of air, that God created too, because being we interact with air every day. We breathe it, we're walking through it, right? But like to be able to float in air, like that's a whole different experience. And to know that for me, it felt like a buoyancy, to air. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like compared it to water because for me, I just recently learned how to swim, okay? And that is a long time coming as a 40-year-old woman. I just learned how to swim, okay? So I had to learn how to surrender to the water because I just wasn't understanding that the water wanted me to just cool out,
Yeah, take
be
5.
just like the water. You can't fight it. So
Yeah,
can you talk a little bit about that, about
I mean,
this
yeah,
first time, particularly this first time and I guess surrendering or whatever word you want to
because
kind of use.
you can't fight it. You're already out. It's like if you're in a pool and you're swimming you're tired. There's no sense, since you're tired, there's no sense of you trying to fight even more to get up and to get out of the pool, because that's just going to make you tired even faster. Just swim normally. Just let go, right? And just do what you have to do. And that's the same with skydiving, and even with that first experience of tandem skydiving, it's you're already out there. Like, you have to just let go. Anything extra you're going to do is going to make the entire situation worse. And being able to let go is something that I take with me in all forms, in all parts of my life, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be holding on to anything. So skydiving, even in itself, is a little bit more like therapy as well for me. It's a real big coping mechanism because it allows me to be able to let go of things. And at that moment, I didn't realize that that's what skydiving would turn out to be for me. But in the midst of me falling, it goes back into what you said. Like, you get to the point to where you realize, like, hey, I'm here. I know I'm falling, but like, it don't feel like I'm falling. And because of that, I'm able to be a little bit calmer and just let go and just be in the moment.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for riffing with me on that, because I feel like that's one of the most powerful things about skydiving. Okay, so this is your first skydive.
Yep.
You're on the ground now. Well, we can tell people how you get on the ground. The instructor pulls a thing, I don't know, whatever it's called, and a parachute comes out, and then you're floating down, you're on the ground. Okay, you're on the ground. Are you thinking, why the hell did I just do that? Or, oh my God, that was awesome. What are you thinking?
Oh my God, that was awesome part, because
Hmm.
it's at that moment you realize that, like, yo, you're not actually dead. You know, it's like you realize, like, okay, it's slower. I'm like going down. I'm not like dead. So then the the satisfaction of knowing that you actually just jumped out of a plane um was so surreal. Even though, like, the skydive wasn't fully finished because we're still under the canopy and haven't fully landed yet, but that portion of the skydive, the free fall portion, since that was finished and that was the bulk of the skydiving, it as soon as we was done that, it allowed me to just release kind of
Hmm.
everything, right, verbally. Because yeah, in a skydiving you have to kind of let go and just go with the flow because you're there. But under canopy is when you're able to just fully verbally, like, release all of those emotions and yell and scream and just kind of really be like, damn, like, this is actually not too bad.
So, you did your first skydive in Oceanside, California, as you said. And when I asked you what kind of people were around you, nothing but non-blacks, okay? Except for you and your girlfriend, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're at this point now where I know you because I read about you in the news and the incredible work you're doing to basically make it more visible that there are Black skydivers out here
Mm-hmm.
doing their thing. Can you tell us about your organization, how that started, and what are your hopes for it?
Mm-hmm. So I started skydiving. Um, so I did the tandem skydiving in January of 2019, and then because I couldn't stop thinking about it, that forced me to go ahead and get licensed. I don't really like having things sit in my mind for too long without taking action. So because of that, I went ahead and got licensed, and I got my skydiving license like January of 2020. Um, so once I got my skydiving license, I was able to go pretty much anywhere, in the states, and go skydiving. And it's at that moment in which I fully realized that, like, we already know we not doing this white people stuff. This is we not doing that. We knew that. But when you're face to face in it and you realize that, yo, you really the only black person here, it's like, okay, this is
Mm.
wild. So I initially start the group? No, there's a buddy of mine that did. However, I am one of the guys that's assisting with organizing a lot of things for the actual group. And
And what's the name of the group?
the name of the group is called Fresh Air. We're a group of black skydivers, and the basis and the mission of the group really is just to, one, bring black skydivers together, because wherever we go to, so the place in which you go skydiving is called a drop zone. So whenever we go to these drop zones and there may be one black skydiver there and you may realize, oh, there's another one here. We wanted to make sure we build a community around it with us because it's hard being the only black person in this white environment, in this white, sport, because it is like a sport. It's hard being that. So myself, the guy who started it just started literally as a group chat on Instagram. So myself, the guy who started the group chat on Instagram, and a few other people, we just started the group just so we can say, hey, yo, let's jump together. I'm going to be in Florida, or I'm going to be here. Let's just jump together. Um, I seen something within it that was powerful because I started to see the diversity amongst the black skydivers in the group, and it forced me to be like, okay, let's show the world that we are here. Let's show the world that black skydivers do exist, and we're doing it in a safe and dope way. So us, myself, and other people in the group, bringing a lot of black skydivers together in order to help build that community around safety and learning and doing everything we can with it is probably like one of the number one things about it.
Awesome. So what year did you get licensed?
2020, top of 2020.
2020. Oh, January. I think I read this. Yes, it's in my notes. January 2020. So that's interesting because you get licensed in January 2020, and then March 13th, because I remember this very well, 2020, Friday the 13th, the whole world shuts down. But between January and March 13th, how many skydives did you get in between licensing and between the license part and the shutting down of the
Probably
world? Do you remember?
probably like 15 or 20, I think.
Wow.
Um, but it was even in that moment. It's like I was like, all right, I got my license. I'm skydiving. I'm skydiving by myself because I'm not. I'm again. I'm an introverted person, and I wasn't fully accustomed to white folks at that time. So me
Right.
being in this white environment, skydiving made me extremely uncomfortable. So I felt like the white skydivers weren't open to me jumping with them, and I know I wasn't open to them as well. So even in those very beginning phases of me having to get me getting my license in the beginning, I was about to say, you know what, I got my license, that's fine. I'm just going to stop skydiving because there's no one that looks like me just doing it. I don't feel comfortable doing it with people that I'm not fully comfortable with. It was just like, yeah, no, let's not do this. So that first year, 2020, kind of was I had a lot of growing pains with it, and really asking myself, is this something that I want to actually do?
That's good. So, the first time that you ever skydived was tandem. I am curious to know about the first time that you jumped out of a plane alone.
Mhm.
How many tandems did you have to do until you worked up to that?
So every drop zone has a skydiving course, right? Which is called an AFF course, accelerated free fall course. Um, there are some courses that require you to do a tandem. There are some courses that don't, right? My course didn't require me to do a tandem. So and then mind you, I did the tandem in like January of 2019. I didn't take my first like jump in the course until about October or November of 2019. So I have all of the months to kind of forget about the feeling of skydiving. So the
Mhm.
first jump, you depending upon the actual like layout of the course that you're taking at that time, jump one through about jump seven, 8 or 9, you're always jumping with at least one instructor, right? It can be two,
Okay.
but at minimum it's at one. But then after that, you're fully jumping on your own by yourself. So I didn't
Wow.
start jumping on my own fully by myself until about jump like 12 or 13. Um, but that's where it really felt like, okay, Willis, if you die, it's your fault. Like, oh, if you die, it's on you. And it was in those moments in which I've had to realize that when skydiving can get real quiet and skydiving can get real peaceful. Because when you're jumping by yourself and it's just you, literally up there by yourself, just no one around you, um, everything slows down. Well, for me at least, everything slowed down, and it allowed me to kind of enjoy it more because I was able to again be in that moment with the empty mind. So the first one fully by myself was great, but every jump after that, it took me about like 30 jumps, 32 jumps to get comfortable. Um,
Mm.
just because that's how scared I was. Right now, I can just jump out of it with my eyes closed. But at that moment, it's like I had to go to the bathroom every time I like, right before I had to jump. I gotta go to the bathroom and take my pre-jump done. Like what I
I
always
know
thought.
that's right.
It was way too much.
Listen, that anxiety be kicking in. I know exactly
Oh
what you're
yeah,
talking about. Okay, like get it all out.
yeah,
Okay.
I had to.
So, okay, we have like about 10 minutes left. There's so much still I want to talk about, but I'm going to speed it up. I want to know about how you, being a medical social worker and therapist, informs your work as a skydiver. How does that help you?
So,
In what do you, yeah, go ahead.
so for me, I'm always a guy that's willing to try something. And even in therapy, when I'm working in hospitals or when I'm working with my clients in therapy sessions, I always tell them like never sell yourself short and cheating yourself by saying no to something because you never know how it's going to make you feel after that, right? And I fully believe that when you're able to I fully believe that all of us, myself, you, anybody who's listening to this, everyone on this planet, needs to be able to find something to quiet their mind and shut them out from the world, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, you want to do it in a healthy way and don't do any drugs or anything like that. But when you're able to find that one activity or that one hobby, some people draw, some people do music, some people do anything else. But when you're able to find that one thing that allows you to kind of quiet your mind and escape everything else, then that assists you with so many other things in life, right? I think at this point now, I'm about 700 to 800 jumps in. At this point now, skydiving is more peaceful than anything else because I can go
Wow.
out there and have a full conversation with myself. And that's just the same thing with anything else in life. We are able to, in moments of chaos, when you're able to remain calm, that's when you're able to think clearly. So skydiving's kind of brought that for me.
700 jumps. My God. Wow.
And that sounds like a lot, but it ain't. I know people who have like over 25,000 jumps.
But the thing is, you've been licensed since 2020, right? January. The world shut down. So there must have been a period where you were not able to skydive.
Yeah,
Am I wrong about that? Okay.
like
And
one.
then now, okay. And that was 2020. I mean, in 4 years, it sounds like a lot. Maybe because I don't have any sort of cross reference, but 700 in itself as a number is a lot
No,
to
it's a
me.
lot for sure. Like it's a lot for sure, and it's a real expensive sport. Like when I tell
Mm.
people that I'm going up and a jump is what $30. I think $30 is like the national average. They're like, oh, okay, it's not too bad. But when I'm going, I'm not doing just like one jump, right? On average, I do about 30 jumps a day, right? So just
Wow.
even in that jump itself, that's $180. So at this moment, with me almost about 800 skydives in, that's about 24 grand I spent on skydiving
You spent $24,000 on skydiving.
in jumps only.
On
That's not
jumps,
including
equipment.
equipment, coaching, travel. Like, yeah, this is a whole expensive hobby. It's a lot.
Wow. So for you, this is a hobby, right?
Yeah.
So professional skydiver, yes, you're licensed, but when I think about professional skydiver, I think about the instructor that was behind me, right?
Right.
Or attached to you. Are you doing that as well? Or is it just a hobby?
It's just a hobby, and I'm extremely
Okay.
mindful of keeping it that way. Extremely mindful of keeping it that way because I don't want it to feel like work. I
Okay.
want this to feel like this is my hobby. This is a place I go to escape and do things like that. I'm not trying to get paid for it. I'm not trying to because there are like world champions when it comes to skydiving. I'm not trying to
Mm.
compete in it at all. I'm just trying to go out and be the dopest black skydiver I could be. I don't care if you
I
get
know.
paid for it at all.
I know that's right. So, two more questions. One is, what have you learned about yourself that only skydiving was able to teach you?
Skydiving really forces me to be accountable in everything. Accountable in how I pack my parachute, because if I pack my parachute wrong, I'm going to feel it. When it comes out, I'm going to, if it comes out with some type of malfunction and all twisted up, it's on me. It forces me to be accountable in the middle of the jumps, because when you're jumping with multiple people, you can do things, and I have to be mindful of the fact that I'm going about 120, 130, 140 miles an hour. The person next to me could be going that fast as well. So if I do something and run into this guy, that could hurt him in the sky or knock him out because of the speed in which we're going. I have to be accountable in the way I fly. And I also have to be accountable in how much I'm trying to learn in this environment and in this situation, because you still could die out here. Like, that's never a thing. Like, it forces you to really realize that, like, hey, you could die. So be accountable and be mindful of everything that you're doing. So that way you can be as not only safe, but it forces you to be like super attentive with everything around you.
That's good. Accountable. Wow. Lastly, what is it that you and other Black skydivers have brought to the sport that's uniquely Black?
Us, and I know that sounds like, I mean, it doesn't sound small, but like when I say, so the best, I've been on a lot of jumps, and I've jumped with a lot of different people, and I've jumped in many places around this country. Myself and a bunch of people in the group, we recently put on a skydiving event. In skydivers, they call it boogies. I don't know where they got boogie from, but like, they call skydiving events boogies. We recently had a skydiving event in Houston, Texas. And
Was this World Skydiving Day?
yeah, right. It was World Skydiving Day, but it was also our event. It just ended up happening on the same day. And this isn't the first time we had this event. This is, I think, like the third or fourth one. But it was the most gratifying because it was the biggest in terms of the amount of Black skydivers that came out. It was really big to see how open everybody was as it pertains to Black people being in this actual sport. Because
And
when
how
you're only
many?
Black
Sorry to interrupt. How many
how many
showed up?
people came? It was somewhere between like 30 and 40.
Okay. Okay. It's
Somewhere
good.
between like 30 and 40. But when you're the only Black person in this area, you feel as if you're not welcome. Even though you are, but you just feel as if you're not welcome. So when you're jumping when there's 40 other Black people at this drop zone, and you're there with your people, and everybody else around it is fully open and happy that everybody else is there, that feeling of like gratitude around it was probably like the best thing for me ever. I can't remember what exactly the question was, but I can say, as it pertains to like skydiving as a whole, and if we go back into what skydiving has done for me, it's allowed me to be just just appreciative of the Blackness that I can bring into this white environment. Because I'm always about being able to make the other side feel uncomfortable because we here. And if this is giving me the opportunity to do that, hey, let's get to it, because we're gonna turn this thing out.
I love it. Thank you so much, Willis, for joining me on this episode of the Curiosity Podcast, What's Up with Skydiving. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much to our guests for joining me, and thank you for listening. This episode was edited by Chase Parker, hosted and executive produced by me, Jennifer Brown, produced by Latrice Lauve, and distributed by BlakOWND Productions. I hope you'll join me again on another episode. The Curiosity Podcast is a safe space to not only explore my curiosity of all the things, but yours as well. And together, we get to dig a little deeper as to why that curiosity exists in the first place.